All right. So we are recording now. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our fall slash winter resume and career chat. This is actually officially the second one we are hosting, but the first one we held was for students only. And this time we did decide to open it up to students and professionals because, let's be serious, we all need some help when it comes to writing about ourselves. I know it's not an easy task, and it's one that I always dread, even talking about myself like I will do now. So if you don't know me, I am Corey the Member Relations Specialist for SAE. I've been with the organization now for about, oh my goodness, 3 years. Yeah, so I work in membership and I'm just going to mute you there, sorry. Um, so I work in membership, all things related to recruitment, retention, your benefits, activities like this, and hopefully we will be able to bring you a lot more things like this in 2022, which is just a few short weeks away. And on the line, I also have my colleague slash manager, Amanda Hildbrand, if you wanted to say a quick hello.
Everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm excited to also listen in and get all kinds of tips and advice.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda. So let's just go around and introduce ourselves. So I'm looking at Vikram first, so why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vikram Cheddar and I'm CA engineer at General Motors. I've been a member of SE for 10 years and I've volunteered in different events or programs such as A World in Motion, the mentorship program of SE. And for 1 year, I was in SE. I was member of SE Austin when I was working there for a year. And for most of my part, I have been in that one. So, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure too that we can speak up a little bit and make sure it's a little clear. I don't know, everyone's microphones are different on their computers, so anyway, so thank you, Vikram. I'm looking at Michelle next, so why don't you go next?
Yeah, my name is Michelle Kaiser. I'm a business development manager at John Deere in our Intelligent Solutions group. So I lead our startup collaborator and I scout for technology and talent that can help our farmers and our growers unlock value. And so I'm really excited to be here today. I've been with SAE a really long time. I honestly don't remember how long, but I started with Mini Baja back in my undergraduate days. So I've had a long relationship with SAE. I serve on the Executive Council for the Commercial Vehicle Congress and then volunteer at various things like this because I love to do it and it's super fun. So I'm glad to be here on the panel today.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And then Mike, I think you are currently our last person for our panel today.
Yeah, I'm Mike O'Neill, and I'm come at things from a little different perspective, or at least experience, than our other people here, where they're working with companies that have many engineers. I'm working in the racing industry, and I've worked for companies that mostly have, on average, about 2 engineers at a time. So we have to wear many hats. I'm a brake system and clutch system design engineer in all types of automotive racing. I've been working for Essex Part Systems for the past 11 years. For 15 years before that, I was with Tilton Engineering. I've been heavily involved with Formula SAE, where I worked in the design judging ends on that, and also advising Baja teams. So I have some experience in there as well. And I do go around and give lectures to the students at the different universities on brake systems and what it takes to be successful in these projects. I'm also a member, take part in the SAE Brake Colloquium every year. So good organization. Glad to see everybody here.
Thank you. And then I saw we had a couple other people, so I just wanted to make sure that Kasalia or Hamed were not on the line. If you are, please raise your hand. No? All right, well, again, if they join, they can jump. my goodness. Please, yes. Please go on mute if you can. Yeah, so we don't have scary noises like that. All right, well, let's just get started. Let's first open it up to the floor. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? I know it's hard to be the first one sometimes. Nope. All right, well then I will move on to some of the questions we have compiled on the back end behind the scenes. So this is, any one of you can raise your hand. So we actually it was interesting. Well, I was looking at all of the resumes that were submitted. And we did have probably about half of the resumes come from advanced or more experienced workers. So we consider advanced 15 years or more. So this question addresses that. So this person says, should I keep my dates on my resume? So I'm assuming like graduation dates and job experience dates, or take them off of the resume. I am more advanced in years than some companies would like to see, but I have a lot of experience. Should I keep it super simple or keep some details to let employers know that I have this experience?
I'll start there. I think for the education piece, it's probably not relevant if you have a lot of work experience to necessarily put the dates on there. However, when it comes to your work experience, if you didn't have the dates on there, that would be a red flag for me as a hiring manager, and I would most definitely ask you about it, or it may actually weed you out of the process if there were other, strong candidates up against you. So I think it just becomes more of a question mark than a helpful thing if you leave the dates of the work experience off.
I also like to see the dates. And of course, once it gets beyond so many years, the months don't count anymore. You can just list the year. But one thing that makes it easier for us, and it would be nice to see, and I've seen on a few of them, is if they put the years of experience there, because we sit there doing the calculating of how long they've been there. And it's good just to show how many years you've been there, especially if you've been somewhere 10 plus years. That would be nice to see.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I know, this is a crazy time we live in, so a lot of people are looking for jobs or maybe re-entering the field. Now we're actually going to go on the opposite end of this spectrum. I'm assuming this is coming from someone a little bit younger. So they ask, how often do businesses check social media pages? So like your Instagram page or your LinkedIn, and if so, if companies are looking at these things, how do I make these accounts look better? And we'll stop there. So what are you looking for in a LinkedIn account? And I'm assuming if someone's Instagram is public, or maybe they have like a school account or something, how will those things help you as a candidate?
Well,
Yeah, I think, go ahead.
You.
Okay, I'll go. Next time you go first, Mike. So yeah, I think for me, where I draw the distinction is that LinkedIn is a professional site, so you should definitely have a professional picture on there. Your background should be something relevant to your area of study. So like, for example, when I worked in the engine division, my background picture reflected John Deere power systems. When I worked in the construction crawler team, I had a massive construction crawler there. Now I'm in the tech side, so I've got something a little more general, but make sure that those things sort of line up. And then you definitely want to list your relevant experience. So if you have a leadership position in an SAE Baja team or Formula SAE or ASME or any of the orgs that you're in, you want to list that. But for me, that should be straight up professional content there, as well as any papers you've published if you're a grad student, or patents that you might hold. And then your other social media accounts, I think in general, it's a good practice to keep those things as locked down as possible. knowing that your profile picture is going to be visible if somebody chooses to search that. So make sure your profile picture is something that you would not mind a potential future employer seeing, and same with your background photo there. So, you know, it doesn't mean you have to stop having fun or lock down your social media, but I would definitely keep those things as private as possible so that only people you want to see it are seeing it.
Okay, now I'll go. Um, yeah, LinkedIn, I'll check that out. But with the understanding that LinkedIn is like a resume, you are trying to project an image on that, where something like Facebook is more of a free-for-all. And there have been, you know, if you go on there and you find that somebody spends most of their time criticizing or bashing others, and that's mostly what they do on their Facebook page, that doesn't come across as a real team player. There have definitely been people I have not interviewed because of what they saw, what I saw on their Facebook page after seeing a fairly positive resume. So as they say, keep it locked down in what you do show. Um, keep in mind that, you know, anybody can be looking at this at times. Uh, just don't let things get out there that you don't want certain people to see.
I would also say for anyone on here who is, you know, a mid-career hire or advanced, whatever you want to call it, you want to make sure that you're not doing anything that is sort of anti-brand. So if you are working for a company, you don't want to post a picture of something with a competitor, for example. So just kind of keep those things in mind, and you also don't want to necessarily share things that are work related unless you're authorized to do so on behalf of your company. So keep that in mind as well. That will reflect on you.
Those are great points. So would you suggest then that everybody has a LinkedIn, or if somebody, let's say, does not have a LinkedIn, let's say it is one of those more advanced, or maybe they're retired and they haven't just dabbled in the LinkedIn, is that going to be any kind of red flag for anyone, or is it just, you know, it is what it is. We have your resume in hand. We'll work off of that.
It's not a red flag for me if somebody doesn't have one, although it does make me wonder. It makes me wonder, are you not tech savvy? Are you trying to hide something? Like, what's going on there? But it wouldn't necessarily eliminate somebody. So it doesn't take much to create a LinkedIn page and to, you know, just put some basic things on there. So why not?
Also, there will be a distinction between the LinkedIn and resume. The guidelines that we use for a resume may not be applicable for LinkedIn, but both are necessary in the professional field. For example, in the LinkedIn, we can have more detailed informations like regarding volunteer roles or regarding the position as well. In the resume, we would like to keep concise, highlight the achievements in each position. What was your contribution?
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, those are good points that you can have a few extra things that, you know, you can't really cram into maybe a one-page resume. And actually, going off of that thought, I know some people have very strong opinions on this, so I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. But what do you think about a one-page resume versus a multiple-page resume?
Okay, I guess I'll get this time I will go first. So, um, I, you know, one page is to me ideal. Uh, there are certain people who just have so much experience that I can see like 1.25. But when it gets to 2 pages, I think you've lost the idea of what a resume is. A resume is supposed to be short and brief. And at that point, go through and just keep your strongest points. One page is up to 1.25 pages is more than enough to get lots of good things about you out there, and not so much fluff after that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, and I guess when I say one page, I mean front and back. So, in essence, you've got two 2 pages in that context. So yeah, I think, you know, front and back is fine. When I take that thing off the printer, if I choose to print one, I just want to have 1 page in my hand to take into the interview. The exceptions, I would say, you know, someone who has more of a CV in the academic sense, or someone who has a lot of patents, publications, those types of things, you know, I do want to see those in hiring for a technical position. So those would be rare cases where potentially you could go on to a 3rd page or a, you know, a 2nd page with front-sided. But that would be the exception and not the rule. So I would say try very hard to keep it front and back.
Even I'm inclined towards front and back 1 page resume.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's go back to the audience and see if anyone has questions there. Yeah? Anyone brave enough? Not a problem. We'll just keep on going then.
How about I'll throw a question out for the others here.
Okay.
This came up last time. I think there's mixed thoughts on that, and I think resumes have been changing just because the technology used has gone well beyond the Corona typewriter making them these days. What do the other panelists feel about photos on a portrait or photo on the resume?
For a photo, your LinkedIn profile can be sufficient. In resume, we are also managing space, so photo may not be always a good option to have.
I concur. I think for an engineering position, it's not relevant to me how you look, and I think sometimes unconscious bias can get in the way. And I would advise not to put your photo on there. And I think Vikram makes a great suggestion that, you know, it's on LinkedIn. That's great. So if I want to see what you look like, I can do it that way. But oftentimes when I'm reviewing resumes, to me, that if somebody wastes space, I'll use that term. If somebody is taking up space with a photo, I'm kind of wondering what they're trying to communicate to me. Like, why do you think I would need your photo there instead of the relevant work information? So I would suggest maybe not. But Mike, I'm curious, since you asked what your take is on this.
I agree for the same reasons, especially as far as any perceived or possible bias there could be. It's just best to leave it out, and it very well can be seen in LinkedIn and other places. And it kind of ties in with our last subject about Facebook and LinkedIn. You know, if before I'm going to be hiring someone, I'll do more than look at those places. I'm going to do an internet search on their name and maybe the word engineer or anything else that may be related to their hobby and see what else comes up. So there's plenty of opportunities to see images if somebody really wants to see them.
All good advice. You know, before we did this activity last time, I had never even heard of people putting photos on their resumes. So I don't know if it's just different for different countries or different companies or maybe like different fields or industries, but I've never heard of that, and I hate sharing my photo and being on camera. So anyways. Lauren actually has a good question. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and ask it, or I can read it for you.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. So I just, you know, with your companies and your experience in a job search process, who or what usually sees a resume first? It's, you know, it's uploaded to the website or through whatever service you use. Does it go through an AI program first that looks for keywords and filters that way? Or does a person see it first, whether that's in HR or somebody that's hiring? And so the follow-on question I have is, in terms of searches that are done with AI assist, is there some way we could tune our resumes to work better with that kind of technology?
Yeah, my take on this is that you should be prepared that any of those options could be the first person to see your resume or the first machine to see your resume. So be prepared for all of that. And I think it truly does depend. A lot of those things will come as inbounds. So like when I get resumes, could be from an online source, it could be from one of our recruiters, or it could be somebody that I know. And it could have come through any channel. To make it better, if you think there's a potential there that it could be seen through AI or could go to a technical manager, consider what the position is that you are applying for, and you will want to make sure those terms come up in your resume. So if I am applying for a machine learning position, I'm going to make sure that I have a lot of technical terms in my resume that apply to technical machine learning things. If I am applying for a program manager position, I'm going to make sure those explicit words are in my resume. So definitely tailor your resume to whatever the job posting is. That way, that job posting is going to be probably a great source of keywords that a machine learning algorithm or AI algorithm would be looking for. So I would focus in on that.
I agree. And on the AI, it's, the keywords of the position itself. And of course, in the ad, there should have been certain things that they're looking for that you'll want those keywords in there too. So it's, I guess you got to tailor it to each job that you're applying for. Our company is smaller. It's totally different. We'll set up a mailbox specifically for resumes, and I'll open it and look at it. There's no human resources person or anything like that. If it's for an engineering position, I'll be the one who sees it. So you don't need to worry about any AI search on this end anyway.
I would also add that it depends on the company. What are the reviewing methods? There are some companies which use AI-based tools initially for screening the candidates, because if there are a large number of applications, then to screen those resumes, those tools are used. And in that case, having the right content in the resume which suits the profile will be critical.
Yeah, I would say too, definitely try to get it into a person if you can. If you have a connection or a friend of a friend or someone in an extended network that you can reach out to get it to a person, that would be advantageous.
Also, if there is a referral from within the company, that is also helpful, because that puts you on the top of the list.
Perfect. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you. We had another question in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to ask that yourself, or I can read it for you. Either one. Okay, I'll read it then. Can we use symbolic pictures to highlight skills? Not really sure what that means. I don't know if you wanted to.
No, I saw some resumes here, and like one had a panel that instead of having a list of the types of software they know, they had a panel that had the symbols from each of those companies showing graphics. And I think a resume is a little more formal than that. I think we should actually just be listing them. And what a resume is supposed to be formal. It's not supposed to be fun or entertaining. It's a strict transfer of information in a formal format.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And again, this is for me specific to, let's say, an engineering type position. If you're going for a marketing type role, maybe that is the right thing to do. So take this with a grain of salt. But if I see something that is pictorially represented like that, I'm wondering like, okay, why are you trying to like sell me on this? Tell me what you can do. If you know Python, fantastic. Like tell me what you know about Python. Tell me what you know about C++. Tell me what you know about Visual Basic. I want to know those details. I don't want it to look pretty. But again, that's very specific for an engineering role. It may very well be different if you're going into marketing or a design role or something of that nature.
I agree. If it's a career that's more like a deals with visual arts, then yes, I could see it, not so much engineering. And on that subject, when you list all these things, remember if all you do is say that you have experience with these items, it kind of is implied that you are very proficient at all of them. And I did see one resume that separated out between very proficient at these, some experience at the others. And I think that that's a better way of doing it, because if otherwise, if it looks like anyway that you're claiming that you're very proficient in it on all of them, you're setting yourself up for failure in an interview, and they start asking you questions about the ones you don't have as much experience with and can't answer the questions as well. So it's good to list the amount of experience you have on each.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I just want to underscore that because when I have seen those, hey, I'm familiar with all these 28 things, I will very specifically pick on those things in an interview. And if somebody says, oh, I know SAP, hey, great, which transactions have you used? And so I will call you out because I want to know exactly what you know there. So yes, be prepared and only put the things where you are proficient. Or I love what Mike said there about spell it out, which ones you are, really fluent in versus which ones you might just have awareness of.
Perfect. All really, really great points. Before I move on to my questions, I'll ask again if anybody else from the audience, from the group here, has questions for our experts. No? Not a problem. All right, so our next question is kind of comes in a couple of different parts, so I'll take it slow. So this person says, I would be interested to know how to approach the job search for moving on to a higher level from my current position. So I would assume from like a specialist to a managerial position. So his first question part of that is, how do recruiters screen resumes when they themselves don't have the technical knowledge and can't ascertain transferable skills of a candidate? And focusing on direct knowledge in a system. Engineering is all about knowledge in different areas when you go to university, whereas when it comes to hiring practices, it's one track. I think there are a lot of different moving parts in there, but how would some of them move on to a promotional managerial type position?
I guess I'll jump in. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I'm going to be looking for, if you want to step up, I want to look at what efforts you've made to step up. Have you taken any extra training outside of work that'll make you more proficient in the management areas? Back in college, did you take management as well as just your engineering classes? I think, as explaining to someone in a review last night, and I tell this to my students often, it's a bit odd. We take our best engineers, our best design engineers we have, and we promote them up into being managers. And a lot of them don't have any management training. And then there are engineers, design engineers who aren't quite as good, are the ones who are left doing the actual design work. So it seems like a contradiction sometimes. But I'm looking for what additional training they've done to be able to do that. And sometimes you can take that step up if you're going from a bigger company to a smaller company. That lower level experience in a bigger company can sometimes be seen as helping you get to the next level in a smaller company. So it's a step back in one sense, but it's a step forward in the position that you're holding.
Yeah, and I would reemphasize the need to read and study the job posting. You will get a lot of good clues in there about what they're looking for. So if they're looking for someone who has led a large team, make sure you call that out in your resume. If they are looking for someone who has led a multi-million-dollar budget, call that out in your resume if you have it, or tailor your resume to get somewhere close to that so that it's relevant. If they're looking for someone who has led a global team and you've done that, call that out in your resume. So really focus on, you don't want one resume that goes out everywhere. You want to tailor that to the job posting and make sure your experience is speaking to what they are looking for. And I think that's going to help you, as Mike said, I don't necessarily care where you're coming from. I want to know what skill set you have, and do you have the skill set I'm looking um, for that job? And to me, it's not really relevant if you're coming from external, if this is a step up or a step down or a lateral. I just want to know, do you have the skill set that matches? So focus on the job posting and tailor your resume accordingly.
All right, so then they actually had a second piece of their question. So how are educational qualifications compared from someone with a degree from North America, or let's say the US, versus one from outside of the US? The standards of education are not the same, even if there is equivalency with regards to classification of a degree.
I don't think the particular institution that you're from is nearly as important as what you've done with that experience and what you've made of yourself with it. Um, I'll leave it at that.
I also think the biggest thing to watch for as an undergrad is, are you attending an ABET accredited university? If it's an accredited university, then I don't think it matters beyond that.
Okay. I can throw it on back to the audience if anyone has any other questions, or if our experts have any questions again for each other. Mike, I like that you turned it around and asked one. Let's see. Oh, okay. So we're getting some in the chat. Let's see, Stephanie. Stephanie, if you want me to read your comment, or if you would like to say it out loud, please feel free to.
Just 1 minute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're very fortunate in North America to have skill sets both internationally and domestic. However, most companies' privacy acts or onboarding material clearly explains what's confidential in the company versus to the public. But one thing that's not well understood or not necessarily acknowledged is, I think when a domestic student or a domestic worker or a domestically trained individual joins, they treat their associates as peers or equals. However, the foreign nationals or the foreigners who may not have our passport or our citizenship are bound by different rules other than specifically the company rules in North America. And they don't necessarily take on the stewardship or the education or the information or technical knowledge sharing that a domestic manager or a domestically trained individual may. And I think in terms of due diligence and training our younger staff, that is there a difference? What difference is there? And that our domestic members may be aware that that stewardship is not equal amongst both, because the rules that govern their practice or their position or their location are actually in practice quite different. If you're working directly for a foreign national, you might actually need to take on the responsibility to have a domestic mentor.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to say that's really outside of any of my experiences whatsoever. So I'm going to pass that on to the other panelists, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one as well. And I think the best thing to do would be to consult within your own company with your peers and advisors on that one, most likely.
In my experience, I've seen I've worked for multinational companies, and usually the companies have um, operations um, across the world. So it depends also. Sometimes you see if someone is on a contract job, then they may not be eligible, or they may not have access to all the information. But other than that, I may not have. I've not seen any difference.
Right. Hopefully that answers your question as best as we can. But yeah, I think it's always just kind of like a one-on-one situation that, as Michelle said, to speak to your manager, whoever, about it. Let's see, Ronald has a question. Did you want to ask that yourself? You want to unmute?
Sure. Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Whoops. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the question is on mentorships, and there's a wide variety. Some organizations have a formal mentoring program, others have a no mentoring program, others are somewhere in between. But if a company that a young professional is working for does not have a mentoring program, is there an advantage to, on your own, try to seek out a mentor? And if so, do you have some experience in how a person goes about doing this?
Yes, always. There's always a good reason to have not only a mentor, but a couple of mentors. And there's a few different reasons for this. One is that leaders in the organization want to know where the talent is. So kind of, if you feel like, oh, I don't want to waste their time, just know that you're doing them a service. They want to know where the talent is. Number two, a good reason to have a mentor is simply to learn the ropes of the organization. So people have come before you, they've seen the things you've seen, they can sort of help you get through those things, but also they can help you be a thought partner for something that you are trying to do within your role, whether that's kind of figuring out how to solve an organizational situation or a technical situation. They can help you in that regard. The third reason is just for your own edification. So perhaps you want to learn about a different area within your company. They can help expose you to that area of the company, as well as connect you with people in that particular organization. So that is always good. And then, you should not think of the mentoring relationship as a transactional one. It should not be, hey, I need to connect with Mike because he's going to get me a job in racing. However, it could eventually lead to Mike's going to vouch for me because he knows me because we have this mentoring relationship. So don't expect that, but just know that sometimes that is an organic outcome of it. And then as I said, multiple mentors are good. So maybe I want a mentor who knows a little bit of something about GNSS and comms, and I want a mentor who knows a little bit about mechanical design. And then, you know what, maybe I want one in marketing because I got to figure out how to sell the thing I'm gonna be producing. So think about, what your organizational gaps are. It could also be that if you are someone who has some trouble public speaking, for example, figure out who at your company is really awesome at that, and then figure out how to learn from them, or figure out whatever personal, professional, organizational gaps you have, and then go find those people that can be your village, because it does take a village to raise an engineer.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help somebody learn from my mistakes. That's a lot of what mentorship is. But so much of it it's not nearly about the technical as it is about learning about uh, how to be effective in the workplace, working with others and getting what you need from others, even what they necessarily don't want to, and getting experience with learning about management and what it takes to be a good leader, not just a manager, but a leader. And I think that's where, if that's what you're trying to do if you're trying to move up. And those are where mentors I find can help the most.
One additional question for that.
Go ahead.
Is that, reference was made to multiple mentors, and some of the illustrations were looking for people within your organization. But what about going outside the organization? Let's say you're trying to expand and look at your future 5, 10, 15 years from now. Is it good also to look at some of the professional societies? Is that where good mentors would be have opportunity to work with the younger professionals?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and mentors can come in many forms from many places, whether that's from a nonprofit board you sit on, whether that's from a professional organization like SAE, which does have a mentoring match program, by the way. I encourage you to look at that if you haven't. It can also be previous working relationships, previous academic relationships. So those are all places where you can find a mentor. But again, it should be kind of think about, what is it I'm looking for from this person? Is it exposure to someone or something? Is it knowledge I'm trying to gain? And then go find your mentor based on whatever that need is. But you're absolutely right. It does not have to be internal to your organization.
No, and I think it's good to get it in multiple places, one within and one without. A mentor is like a sounding board. There's someone you can bounce ideas off of, and different people are going to have different opinions, and you have to figure out which one's the best for your particular situation, because you know best your particular situation. So, and especially different engineers just have different areas of expertise. I tell people, they ought to rename mechanical engineering an introduction to engineering, because we learn a little bit about a lot of things, and we don't learn very deep in any particular one subject, and that comes out once we get into industries where we start gaining our depth in some of these subjects. So you're going to find people who are experts in many different areas, and they go well outside the classical engineering. A lot of it is in communications.
Thank you.
Also, when you join new, or maybe you're experienced, when you join as an experienced engineer in a company, to know the processes within the company, mentorships can be useful. If you have a mentor, assigned mentor, with whom you can ask questions, you might have technical knowledge, but the processes can be different. There can be abbreviations, some internal knowledge that can be obtained through a mentor.
All great points. Yes, and as Michelle mentioned, we do have an SAE mentor program. So you can basically really define what you're looking for in a mentor, whether you're looking for soft skills, like we said, public speaking or time management, or you're looking for a certain technical area. So I encourage you to check it out. You can find it on Member Connection, or I can send, or actually Amanda, if you'd be so kind, you can send the link in the chat to look at it more. Words are hard sometimes. Anyway, so does anyone have any other questions? That was a great question though, Ron. Thank you. Okay. Then I will go back to my handy dandy list of questions here. Okay, so I feel like I hear this a lot, not even just within SAE, but personally with people that I know. So this person is currently in the process of looking for a new job and would like to transition to a managerial position officially. He's been a team lead and an unofficial manager for the past 2 years, but can't seem to move into an actual management role where they currently are. So how then do you translate those skills and your the things you've been doing on a resume to then be recognized with either promotion or outside of the company, that level that you want to be at, and compensated for your efforts.
That is a tough nut to crack. And part of what you have to be ready to do is advocate for yourself and then find folks who will advocate for you based on your competencies that you have. And the reason that's a tough nut to crack, I think, is, and I remember going through it myself, it was, hey, we want a supervisor for this group or a manager for this group that has managerial experience. Fantastic. Where should I get that experience, for my first level manager position? So I remember just kind of talking to a whole ton of people, a lot of engineering managers, and saying, hey, what are you looking for? And then I would just start talking to them and saying, okay, well, I've done this, how can I expand that? And a lot of them would give me really great advice. And now I've planted the seed in their brain that, okay, I'm looking for that kind of a role. And now I can demonstrate to them in a follow-up meeting, okay, I did that, and here's what I learned. Can you help me think through whatever the next step is? So start forming those relationships because if you wait until you put in your application or until you're up for a job, if you wait until then to form the relationships, it's probably too late, and probably others that you're competing with have done that. So make sure you've got those relationships going with the hiring managers so that they can help you navigate that space.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you just have to go outside the company, especially if in your medium to smaller size company. There was a young engineer I hired who worked for me for several years, and he wanted to move up and was worthy of moving up. But we were a small company with a total of 3 engineers, and I was in charge of engineering, and there wasn't any place for him to move up, not as long as I was there. The position opened up where he could take over management of sales, and he did. And boy, that was nice because then I had someone in charge of sales who understood what engineering could and could not do, and we had great communication between the departments. And then that managerial experience that he gained there would have allowed him to take make it easier for him to jump into a management position in another company. I think better than if he just stayed in engineering as a designer where he was before. And actually, the range of experiences has allowed him to where he's now CEO of the company. So it's that sometimes that breadth can help quite a bit.
All good feedback. Yeah, I think most important thing is to advocate for yourself for sure, and just speak up and say, I am worthy of these things based off of X, Y, Z. Sometimes I think we do have a hard time and we just want to be recognized for those things, but sometimes we have to go out and get it ourselves, right? All right, does anyone have any questions from the group? Okay. All right. This one I thought was kind of interesting. So in my CV, should I reflect unpleasant incidents that occurred at the workplace which led me to resignation? I always keep my respect and never try to give damage the brand names earned in over the years of working there. In other words, how can I prove or defend myself against negative comments that might originate from whoever they had a conflict with in the previous workplace?
I'm looking for a red flag that I can hold up.
I have a red chocolate. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Boy, I'd stand back from that one. That's something that might come up in the interview and might need to be addressed, but in the resume, absolutely not.
I agree. If the person is coming across extraordinarily defensive already on the resume on paper, that one's gonna set off some big red flags for me. And then I would say too, it sounds like from that example that the person is interested in going to a whole different company. Um, the industry is small, but it's not really that small. So if you're going somewhere else, like that's now a chance to reinvent yourself and kind of who cares what happened at the last company, and you can leave it at, hey, I was looking to grow with another organization. Like it, nobody cares why, you don't have to say, well, we had a big falling out and therefore I left. Like that's not really relevant to your next employer. So I would be really careful on how you handle that and do it in a way that is reflecting positively, not in a fake way, but you certainly don't want to be trashing your former employer because then that would worry your next employer that you might do the same to them.
All right, let's see. Again, I'll ask, I'll just keep on asking until we get some questions, but does anyone else have any questions for the group?
I've got one for the other panelists. So as we've been doing the resume review on the board, I've noticed that, and I was surprised by this, honestly, but I've noticed that people are still including objective statements, and I really thought those had gone the way of the dodo bird, but they do still seem to be alive and well. So I'm curious, Mike and Vikrant, what your thoughts are on objective statements in a resume.
Yeah, even I observed that, and I'm not so keen to have objective statements. Possibly as a fresher from college, it might be a good option to have, but for an experienced candidate, it could be replaced with a statement of personal achievements or to highlight what are your expertise and achievements for an experienced candidate. And it may not have a title like it's a objective, just a sentence, a couple of sentences.
I kind of like to see it just from the standpoint of it gives me a preview of what this person wants, what they're looking for. And a lot of times that can be replaced by what's in the cover letter. The cover letter can take the place of that, but we weren't asked for people to send us cover letters. So we were just asked to have them see resumes. And if it's got to stand on its own, then okay, I want a little bit of, why is it that you want this position? What are you looking for? Because in the end, it's got to work for both sides. The employer has to give them what they want, and the employee has to give the employer what they want. So two ways there. I see it's a little bit of allowing them to see what they want there. But it's not a must.
Got it. Trying to think if I had any other questions. I don't know, Amanda, I feel like you're always really good at coming up with some questions off the top of your head. No pressure, but
I was going to say that's a lot of pressure.
no.
No, you know what? Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. But something that we were talking about, Corey, was the idea of how the beginning of the year is a good time to look for new jobs and people have new budgets and things like that. So just want to encourage, any students or professionals that are listening to this that, there probably are some really great opportunities coming up. So this hopefully really helped them to prepare for potential interviews.
Yeah, and I think, to Mike's point about being ready to communicate what you're looking for, I wouldn't necessarily use space on a resume for that, but if you get into the interview, you really better be ready to say why this job? What is it about this job, this company that delights you and entertains you and just makes you want to work for them? Because if you kind of say like, I don't know, I like tractors. Well, okay, that's nice, but like, what is it about that? Are you tied to the mission? So, do your homework and figure out what drives that company, what that company is interested in, what the higher purpose is, and then figure out if that aligns with your higher purpose and what you want to do. Because as Mike said, it's got to work for both sides. And you know, you're going to be working for a long time. So figure out how to find a company that lights your fire and where your passion aligns with theirs.
Right. You don't want to just say you like tractors. You want to be very specific and say you like green tractors. So, but yeah, I'm looking into how this job would fit into someone's long-term plans. Um, Especially, you know, when I was in California, you know, not everybody can move to California. It's expensive. You know, one of the things I make sure I did when I interviewed somebody was I gave them at least one day to go out and see the area, and I encouraged them to look at homes and what they cost. And you know, because you don't want somebody to come out there and after 6 months just say, I just can't live here, and then they leave. It doesn't work out well for anybody. So anyway, um, next.
All right, so this is going to be our last question because somehow it's already almost 2 o'clock. Ronald, again, fantastic question. And in closing, could you address the role that professional and technical societies could have in career development?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have been involved with SAE for a long time. I'm also in Society of Women Engineers and many other organizations as well. But the role that it has played for me has been, I guess, first of all, just having a great professional network. And it's really fun to go to the conferences every year and see those folks and continue to develop future conferences with them. So I love that. It's a great learning opportunity for me. And then internally, as I've found people for different panels or keynote speakers, et cetera, that's been a great learning opportunity for me as well to just learn from people in my organization. And then not only am I learning who these people are, but now they're seeing me in this role together with a professional organization. And so that kind of helps me build my own internal resume and my internal brand as well. So I think, you know, it's kind of a great two-way street where hopefully I'm contributing in a meaningful way, but also getting something out of it in return. So I would encourage everyone to find a way to get involved and don't just be the card holder. Don't just say, okay, yeah, I'm in SAE. Well, okay, who cares? Like, what are you contributing? What are you adding? Are you reviewing papers? Are you presenting? Are you organizing a conference? So, you know, get involved in a meaningful way that is also fun and entertaining for you.
I agree with that. Professional societies, they provide networking opportunities for the career growth, and it also enhances your career. You can present papers or participate in the specific field related events related to specific field, like conferences, technical sessions, which can be useful in the career as well.
I'm going to say the best person qualified to answer that question is Corey.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, just looking at you guys, the volunteers that we have, the members that we have, who are engaged, who are actively helping each other, networking and talking, and Mike, all the great stuff that you do with our student members, you are sharing all of your experiences and knowledge with um, formula, right? Sorry, formula and in the industry, SAE really is kind of, you get back what you put in. And it's been a very interesting experience for me, working with this kind of society as an English major who just writes things and reads books and just all the technical aspects of it, and then also developing the professional side, all the soft skills that you need. There are just so many different moving parts, and SAE and we in the membership team do try to provide as many opportunities to engage with us and to utilize us to help you in your career, to help the industry, and to help yourself personally, and in whatever other ways that you want to be helped. And yeah, I mean, I know Amanda could probably say that a lot more eloquently than I could, but if you wanted to add anything, Amanda.
You sell yourself way too short, Corey. That was perfect. You know your stuff. That was wonderful. Yeah, I mean, we always say like cradle to grave, SAE has you covered. Start in kindergarten with our STEM programming and, you know, all the way up to becoming a fellow, which is our most prestigious grade of membership. So, yeah, no, Corey, you summarized it really well.
Perfect. Sorry, I was just typing a little message because someone I think is having trouble with audio. But this will be posted in Member Connection shortly as soon as the recording develops on WebEx. But we are over time now. So again, if you have any lingering questions or you just thought of something, you know, 5 hours from now, you can go ahead and post them in Member Connection, connection.sae.org. And our panelists here, some of you, I think, Mike, not you, but some of our other experts will be able to address your questions. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And again, move on over to Member Connection if you have any lingering thoughts or comments. And we will see you next time for our next event in 2022. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.